Vox Machina versus the Seven is an underrated matchup that no one really discusses. I'm also going to be using the TV show versions of both teams. Both Vox Machina and the Seven will be at peak power. I'm going to discuss 7 matchups round by round of one member of each team being put against the other. Also, both sides will be bloodlusted for the sake of simplicity. But anyways guys, let's get right into it. The first matchup I want to discuss is Percy the Rolo III versus Black Noir. Let's first take a look at Percy's feats. For strength, his greatest feat was bursting through 2 locked doors. Now for durability, he is able to survive being tossed around like in these clips here.
For goodness sakes!
He is also able to sort of survive the acid which could kill normal humans that was released from one of the dragons of the Chroma Conclave. And as for speed/agility, he has many feats like being able to dodge knife throws from Vax, as well as dodging attacks from Anna Ripley, and he's able to also dodge giant possessed armor. Now, attack potency is where things really get interesting. His handgun is able to break off a stalactite, blast off Professor Anders' head, and it's strong enough to pierce through a metal cart and cause a very small stone roof to collapse. His rifle is capable of making Umbrasyl stagger, who is a city block level dragon, and it is also capable of making Vorugal, who is a building level dragon, tumble. And lastly, his rifle can shatter a large amount of ice when Vorugal was attacking him. Here is a reference for how thick the ice was. Not to mention, he's also very intelligent. Now on to Black Noir. His strength feats include him throwing Starlight through a concrete wall and a concrete pillar, and him decapitating Naqib, who is a bulletproof soup, as well as being able to pry a human jaw with little effort. For durability, his best feat is tanking an explosion from Naqib, which is calculated to be around building level. As for speed/agility, Mother's Milk states that he can move faster than a car, which should put him around superhuman levels of speed. Here are some clips for how agile he is.
You just don't want the competition, do you? Come here!
So, in conclusion, Black Noir should win with mid to high difficulty. Based on feats and statements, he's stronger, faster, and more durable. Percy may put up a decent fight, but he's eventually gonna get folded. Anyways, the next matchup I want to talk about is Vex'ahlia versus the Deep. Let's start with Vex first. Her best physical feats include things like flipping a much larger person than her over her shoulder and outrunning the aim of Brimscythe's lightning breath. I mean, to be honest, her physical feats aren't very impressive. However, her weapons and abilities are where she really shines. Vex'ahlia has a flying broom as well as Fentress Pro, which is one of the vestiges of diversions, and she has a variety of arrows she can use. There's vine arrows which are capable of stuff like this. Explosive arrows which can do this. And lightning arrows which can also do this. Now let's move on to the Deep. For the Deep, we don't have much feats to go off of, but what we do know is that he is another bulletproof soup. The only good feat I can show is him going toe to toe with other bulletproof soups, and he can one-shot regular humans. Overall, Vex'ahlia literally no-diffs the deep. Her arrows can hurt characters who are stronger than the deep. Not only that, but the deep doesn't have any ranged attacks, whereas Vex can just stay up flying in a broom and spam all kinds of arrows. Not to mention, she is very accurate with the bow. Moving on, our next matchup, we have Vax'ildan versus A-Train. Let's start with Vax'ildan. For strength, he can cut through Brimskythe's neck, and he can slice apart the onlooker's tentacles, even when the rest of Vox Machina weren't able to meaningfully harm him. As for durability, his best feat is this clip right here. Now, speed is where he really shines. His best feat was him being able to speed blitz through a weakened Thordak. Here are some clips for how fast Vax is. Now let's move on to A-Train. His best strength feat is him being able to move a literal train with just his bare body. For durability, we don't know much, but what we do know is that he is able to go toe-to-toe with the Deep, who is able to one-shot regular humans. And finally, for speed, we have many feats and statements to go off of. To start off, A-Train can perceive things in slow motion, and he can dodge Starlight's beams, which are calculated to be at relativistic speed. He can also finish a 400-meter dash in 1 second, which puts him just over Mach 1. And lastly, A-Train himself states that he outran bullets at 3 years old, which at best should put him around Mach 2.6. In my opinion, the final battle of this result is a stalemate. Vax has no way of hitting A-Train, but A-Train's stamina and endurance is awful. Not to mention, he is also very inexperienced in terms of battle IQ, whereas Vax is very experienced in battle IQ in combat. Not to mention, Vax can just fly in the air and avoid getting tagged by A-Train. Next up, we have Grog Strongjaw versus Queen Maeve. Let's start with Grog first. For throwing/lifting strength, he is able to throw a massive boulder at Thordak. He's able to lift Umbrasyl's tail after him trying to crush Grog with it, and he can toss armored knights like nothing. In my opinion, these are the best throwing/lifting strength feats that I could get. For striking/grappling strength, his best feats include things like being able to cause a cave to collapse by repeatedly punching a wall, pinning Vorugal by his tail temporarily, and he can pin Umbrasyl's head for a while. Not to mention, he's also capable of stuff like this. Now, moving on to durability. He can survive being tail whipped through a mountain, being able to survive a fall from at least a few thousand feet in the air, can tank arrow shots, can literally survive being stabbed through the stomach, and he can survive getting his ass beat multiple times.
see another way out?
I'll try to make us one. Grog!
As for speed, his best feats is him leaping very high multiple times. Now, let's move on to Queen Maeve. Her best feats include things like being able to make Homelander and Stormfront bleed, who can both one-shot regular humans and are bulletproof soups. She can also break a handgun, and she is unaffected by a truck hitting her at high speeds. Also, she is just as agile as Grog in this clip. But overall, Grog should take the W, but with high difficulty. I forgot to mention that he also managed to land decent hits on an amped up Kevdak, who is far stronger than regular humans. For our fifth matchup, we have Scanlan Short-Alt versus Starlight. Let's start with Scanlan Short-Alt. I'ma be honest with you, I've watched the show and I can safely say that Scanlan has awful physicals, but his abilities are where he really shines. First of all, he has the ability to create illusions, but I doubt this is gonna do much to Starlight. Now, as for Scanlan's hand, it can destroy a boulder bigger than Vax'ildan, and it can clamp Umbrasil's mouth, but only for a while. Now, let's move on to Starlight. Her best feats are things like making Stormfront bleed, flying at supersonic speed, and her electric blasts are capable of killing regular people and destroying 6-inch thick metal doors. Not to mention, she can also tank lightning attacks from Stormfront, which could also kill normal humans. So it's safe to say that Starlight stomps Scanlan. One electric blast and Scanlan is dead. Anyways, for our sixth matchup, we have Pike Trickfoot versus Stormfront. Let's start with Pike. For strength, her best feats include things like managing to knock out Umbrasil, being able to knock out Thordak's baby dragons, and being able to slice a giant zombie in half while landing on her way to Whitestone. As for durability, she can survive being slammed into a rock wall and can just survive getting slammed through things multiple times.
I gotcha! Oh, no, I don't!
Moving on to speed, she is somewhat agile but not very fast in terms of travel speed. Now, her raw power and abilities is where she really shines. Her energy blasts are capable of disintegrating a group of zombies, erasing house-sized giants, and she slammed Umbrasil's head into the ground. She can also heal herself, but only temporarily. She also has a shield which is capable of blocking off Thordak's breath for a few seconds. Keep in mind that Thordak can casually destroy large stone structure buildings. She can also block off Vorugal's ice breath, which is capable of doing stuff like this. Now, let's move on to Stormfront. Her best feats include surviving a beating from 3 other bulletproof soups, causing various destructive forces across an apartment building, and she's entirely bulletproof too. But a huge anti-feat that I would like to mention is that she can get hurt with a stab in the eye with a pocket knife, even though she's bulletproof. Overall, Pike wins, but with high to extreme difficulty. Her shield can tank attacks far worse than Stormfront, and she has divine intervention. Another thing I would like to mention is that she has better battle IQ than Stormfront, which is a huge advantage. And for our final matchup, we have Keyleth versus Homelander. Let's start with Keyleth. Keyleth has many abilities like being able to transform into animals, being able to change to elemental forms, and much more. But to be honest, Homelander's speed blitz is hard. He is far faster, stronger, and more durable than Keyleth. His best feats include things like being able to outpace a C4, which is calculated to be hypersonic plus, and he can tank a chemical plant explosion, which is calculated to be around multi-city block level. I've watched both shows and I can safely say that Homelander should win with low difficulty. So in conclusion, the 7 may outclass in strength, speed and durability, but Vox Machina has better hacks and more abilities. Not to mention they actually have battle IQ and can actually take on real slogfests. Vox Machina has Scanlan spells, divine intervention, Keyleth's elemental forms, and an enraged peak power Grog, which is only behind Homelander in terms of physical strength. Overall, I personally think Vox Machina should take this, but with high to extreme difficulty. But anyways guys, that is all I have for you today in this video. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to like, subscribe with post notifications on, and comment something positive or even comment your own video ideas. But anyways guys, see you all in the next one.